This is week number 4, I believe. We're in the 3rd lesson, and we're going to get into something a little bit new tonight, but I want to do just a little review. I hope that if you are wanting to learn something about Greek, that you've by now begun to learn the alphabet. The first thing you must learn is the alphabet. And I would encourage you to take the sheets that we gave you. If you didn't get one, we will provide one for you later, to repeat the alphabet to yourself, to write it, and as you write it, repeat it. It is very, very important to get the alphabet down first. Then you need to learn the vowels. It's important to know the vowels. And then, of course, you need to know the diphthongs, and we'll get to that again in a few moments. Let me say something about the vowels. There's some discussion about how the vowels are to be pronounced. I want to make a couple of things clear from the beginning. Number one, when you leave this class, when this class is over, whether it ends this quarter or whether we go another quarter, you probably will not be a Greek scholar. I know that disappoints you, but you probably will not be. I want to be very clear. I do not consider myself a Greek scholar. I've had some Greek. I've taken a number of classes, but it's been a number of years ago. I've tried to keep up with it through the years. I haven't always kept up with it the way I want to. I've had some new challenges placed in front of me in recent years, and I'm thankful for that. And so I love to study the Greek Bible, but I don't know everything there is to know about it. And what I'm trying to say is that if you sat in 5 different Greek classes with different instructors, you might get some different ideas. Different instructors would tell you something different, maybe even about pronunciation. But for this class, and for my way of thinking, there are a couple of important rules that I want to give you. Number one, when it comes to the vowels, all of the vowels are always pronounced the same way. As a matter of fact, every letter is pronounced the same way. They're always pronounced the same way all the time. Every letter is pronounced the same way all the time. When you don't pronounce one letter one way at one time and another way at another time. You always pronounce that letter the same way. So alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet. Alpha should always be pronounced alpha. Now there are some who say alpha, and if you want to say alpha, that's fine, except in this class. For this class, we're going to say alpha. I believe alpha is correct. That's why we're going to say it that way. Alpha would always be pronounced that way. It'll always be pronounced that way. Unless it's in a diphthong, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But you always want to pronounce it the same way. Epsilon is the second vowel, always pronounced the same way. You don't pronounce it one way one time and another way another time. I believe that the short O, if you have your vowels, if you're looking at them, the short O is pronounced Omicron. Now some people say Omicron. If you want to say Omicron, that's fine, but not in this class. We're going to say Omicron. Omicron and Omega. Omicron is the short vowel, the short O. Omega is the long O. The word omega, let me give you just a little thought here about omega and try to explain something that might be of help. The word omega itself, actually omega is a letter, but omega means literally the great O. Look at this. This is the letter omega. It looks like a W. But it means literally, the word omega, if you spell it out in our English, omega literally means the big O, the great O. Look at the word, mega, great. We use that word in our English language all the time. Anytime you see the word mega, mega church, mega mall, mega whatever, that's a Greek word, the word mega. And so literally this just means the great O. Now when the Greeks, it's my conviction, and again you may get different ideas about this, but when the Greeks looked at vowels, they looked at them in quantity and not in quality. They looked at a vowel in quantity and not in quality. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, when we look at a vowel, we look at it in quality. For instance, the letter A. You can pronounce A like father. You can pronounce it like apple. You can pronounce it like ape. There's 3 different ways you pronounce the letter A. Well, when the Greeks looked at it, they didn't look at it in quality. They looked at it in quantity. They didn't change the sound of the letter. It was more like the length of time rather than the shape. They just held it out longer. So when they came to omega, they said the great O. And so it just, it had more to do with quantity than quality. Does that make sense? Does that seem to explain?
You saying they held it longer, the long O, our long O sound, when it was omega? They stayed with it longer than they would with an omicron?
They looked at it that way. They didn't even necessarily say it longer, but they looked at it more. What I'm trying to say is they looked at it in quantity rather than quality. They didn't change the sound that it made. But that word omega, that letter omega, means the great O. And so I don't think it was necessarily like they held it out, you know, intentionally, or they planned to hold it out like a long time, like we might say, oh, like that. But it's just the great O. And so it was more about quantity than quality. Okay, so that's the letters always should be pronounced the same way, except in a diphthong. Now the diphthongs, as you know, and we went over this once, but let me review just a moment about the diphthongs. The diphthongs are when you put 2 vowels are combined to make one sound. When 2 vowels are combined to make one sound, it is called a diphthong. There are 7 diphthongs in the Greek language. You have the vowel alpha in iota. That makes the sound I. I want you to repeat this with me. I.
Aye.
All right, it's like, I don't want to confuse you, but it might help if I give you an English word, the word aisle. So it's I. Then you have epsilon iota, and that's A. Everybody repeat A.
A.
Like in the word freight, F-R-E-I-G-H-T. Third is omicron iota, and it makes the sound oi. Everybody repeat oi.
Oi.
Like in oil. Then you have the next one is alpha upsilon, and alpha upsilon, and it makes the sound ow. Everybody say ow.
Ow.
Like in cow. Then you have epsilon upsilon, and it makes the sound u. This is a little difficult. U. Everybody say u. It's almost like, if I think of it in English, almost like feud, the word feud. And then you have omicron upsilon, and it makes the sound oo. Now these 2 are very similar. You have u, and then you have oo. You hear the difference? U, oo, and oo. Everybody repeat oo.
Ooh.
Like in food. Food. Y'all all understand that, don't you? Okay, then you have upsilon iota, and it's we. Everybody say we.
We.
Like in queen. We. So these are the diphthongs. And this is really the only time that a vowel will change the way it's pronounced. It's when there are 2 vowels that are grouped together. They're called diphthongs, and they'll change the way they're pronounced then.